Captain Park Min-jun stood at the viewing window of the diplomatic shuttle, watching the massive station grow larger against the stars. The Galactic Council chamber was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. It looked like a silver wheel spinning slowly in space, catching light from 3 nearby suns. Park had seen pictures, but pictures never showed how small they made you feel. Nervous, Ambassador Choi Yuna asked from behind him. She was reviewing files on her tablet, not looking up. "Should I be?" Park turned from the window. He wore his Earth Defense Force uniform, dark blue with simple silver bars on his collar. No medals, no decorations. Humanity was too new to space for such things. "They called an emergency session." Yuna finally looked at him. Her face showed concern. "The Galactic Collective doesn't do that unless something serious is happening, and they asked specifically for a military representative, not just diplomats." Park nodded slowly. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for only 10 years. Before that, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Then the collective found them. Everything changed after that. 50 years in space and only 10 knowing about the thousands of other species out there. The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Park grabbed his cap and followed Yuna through the airlock. The corridor beyond was huge, built for species much larger than humans. The walls glowed with soft light. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the halls. Some walked on legs, some floated, some slithered. Park had seen many species before, but never this many in one place. A small robot approached them, hovering at eye level. "Captain Park Min-jun and Ambassador Choi Yuna of Earth. Please follow." Its voice came from a speaker, translated into Korean by their ear devices. They followed the robot through winding corridors. Other delegations passed them, some nodding in greeting, others ignoring them completely. Park noticed something odd. Many of them were staring, not with curiosity, but with something else. Worry? Fear? The robot led them to a massive set of doors, easily 20 meters tall. The doors opened silently, and Park's breath caught. The council chamber was enormous. Curved rows of seats rose up in circles, filled with thousands of representatives. At the center was an open floor with a single speaking platform. Above everything, a huge insectoid creature sat on an elevated throne. Its body was covered in shimmering purple chitin, and its multiple eyes reflected light like gems. "High Arbiter Zexthor," Yuna whispered, "leader of the Galactic Collective. Be respectful." They walked down to the floor level. Park felt every eye in the chamber watching them. The sound of thousands of beings breathing, shifting, waiting filled the air. It was like standing in the center of a stadium. "Humans of Earth!" Zexthor's voice boomed through the chamber, translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." Park bowed slightly. "We're honored to be here, High Arbiter." "Indeed." Zexthor's mandibles clicked together. "Let us begin. The Galactic Collective Council has convened this emergency session to address a matter of great importance. The matter of humanity's place in our community." Park glanced at Yuna. She looked as confused as he felt. Zexthor continued. "Humanity has been under observation since first contact. We have studied your world, your history, your nature. What we have discovered concerns us greatly." A holographic display appeared above the speaking platform. It showed Earth, blue and beautiful, spinning slowly. "Your planet, what you call Earth, is classified as a Class 12 death world. The gravity is crushing. The weather is violent. The native life forms are aggressive and dangerous. Humans evolved in conditions that would kill most species within hours." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Park stood straighter. He didn't like where this was going. "Furthermore," Zexthor said, and the hologram changed. Now it showed images of human history, wars, weapons, cities burning. Humanity's own records show an extremely violent past. Constant warfare, destruction of your own environment, development of weapons capable of destroying all life on your world. Multiple times in your history, you came close to extinction by your own hands. The images kept changing. Nuclear explosions, armies clashing, pollution choking cities. Park felt sick. He knew human history. Every human did. They taught it in schools as a warning, a reminder of mistakes they must never repeat. In the past 50 years, humanity has developed space travel at an alarming rate, Zexthor continued. You now have colonies on 3 worlds. You have 50 military vessels. You are expanding faster than any species we have encountered. This expansion, combined with your violent nature, presents a significant risk to galactic peace. Risk? Park found his voice. We haven't threatened anyone. Not yet, a voice called from the upper seats. Park couldn't see who spoke. Zexthor raised one clawed appendage. Order. The human will have time to speak. He looked down at Park. Captain, the collective has debated this matter extensively. We have reached a decision. For the safety of all species, including humanity itself, we are invoking protected status for Earth and all human colonies. Yuna's face went pale. Protected status, she whispered. What does that mean? Park asked, though part of him already knew the answer. Zexthor gestured, and new text appeared in the hologram. Park read through it quickly, and his jaw tightened with each line. Protected status meant humanity would become a vassal species. All human military vessels would be dismantled. Humans could not travel outside their home system without permission. All major decisions affecting humanity would require council approval. Human worlds would be monitored by collective peacekeeping forces. It was a pretty name for a cage. This is not punishment, Zexthor said. Many young species accept protected status. It allows them to develop safely under our guidance. You will have access to advanced technology, medical knowledge, and cultural exchange. You will be protected from external threats and from yourselves. And if we refuse? Park's voice was steady, but his hands were clenched behind his back. The chamber grew very quiet. Zexthor leaned forward on his throne. Captain, I do not believe you understand the situation. This is not a request. The collective has voted. The decision is made. You are here to accept the terms and arrange the transition. You're telling us we have no choice, Park said. You have the choice to accept peacefully or face containment protocols, another voice called out, this time from a delegate with multiple tentacles. Military blockade of your system, dismantling of your space infrastructure, forced compliance. Park looked around the chamber, thousands of aliens all watching him. Some looked sympathetic, most looked satisfied. A few looked afraid, as if humans were dangerous animals that needed to be locked up. How long do we have to respond? Yuna asked quietly. 24 hours, Zexthor said. Captain Park, Ambassador Choi, you will be provided quarters here. Study the terms. Consult with your government. Tomorrow, you will return to this chamber and formally accept on behalf of humanity. He paused. I am sorry this is difficult, but it is necessary. You will understand in time. The High Arbiter rose from his throne, and the session ended. Delegates began filing out, talking among themselves. Park and Yuna stood alone on the chamber floor. Minjun, Yuna said softly, we need to be smart about this. The collective has 10,000 warships. We have 50. This isn't a fight we can win. Park looked up at the empty throne, then at the doors where thousands of aliens had just left, all of them part of a system that had just told humanity to kneel. Tomorrow, he said quietly. We'll give them our answer tomorrow. They walked out of the chamber in silence. Park's mind was already racing, thinking about what came next. 24 hours to decide the future of the entire human race. 24 hours to find a way out of an impossible situation. Or 24 hours to prepare for what he might have to say. The council chamber was even more crowded than yesterday. Word had spread throughout the station that the humans would give their answer today. Representatives from all 47 species filled the curved rows of seats. Some brought assistants. Others brought recording devices. This had become more than an official proceeding. It was a spectacle. Park stood on the speaking platform with Yuna beside him. He wore the same uniform as yesterday, freshly pressed. His hands were steady, but his heart pounded. He had not slept. Every word he was about to say had been thought through 100 times. High Arbiter Zexthor sat on his throne above them, his multiple eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. "This council is now in session," his voice boomed. "Captain Park Min-jun of Earth, you have had time to review the terms of protected status. You have consulted with your government. Are you prepared to give humanity's formal acceptance?" Park took a breath. "High Arbiter, before I respond, I request permission to share something with the council." Zexthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been surprise. "Share something? Captain, this is a simple matter. Accept the terms or face the consequences. There is nothing to discuss." "I understand," Park said calmly. "But the council made its decision based on information about humanity. I would like to provide additional context. It will take only a few minutes." Murmurs ran through the chamber. A delegate with crystalline features called out, "This is a delay tactic. Make them answer now." But an older voice, thin and reedy, spoke from the upper seats. "Let him speak. We gave humanity 24 hours. The least we can do is give them a few minutes now." Park could not see who spoke, but he nodded gratefully in that direction. Zexthor was silent for a moment, then gestured with one claw. "Very well. 5 minutes, Captain. Then you will give your answer." "Thank you, High Arbiter." Park touched a control on his wrist device. The holographic display above the platform activated. Yesterday, the council showed images of human history. Wars, violence, destruction. Everything you showed us was true. Humans have done terrible things. The display showed the same images from yesterday. Battles, weapons, cities burning. The chamber was quiet, watching. "But that is not the complete picture of humanity," Park continued. "You judged us on our worst moments. Let me show you some other moments." The images changed. Now the display showed Earth from space, the blue world spinning slowly. Clouds swirled across oceans, green continents dotted with lights. "This is our home. Yes, it is a death world by your standards. But it is also beautiful. Humans did not conquer Earth. We learned to live with it." The image shifted again. Now it showed a human child, maybe 5 years old, holding a flower and laughing. "This is humanity. We are born. We grow. We love. We create." More images flowed across the display. Park had spent the entire night choosing them carefully. A wedding ceremony, 2 people holding hands. An old man teaching a young girl how to play a musical instrument. A group of humans of different colors and features, sharing a meal together, smiling. A mother holding her newborn baby, tears of joy on her face. "You showed us our wars," Park said. "Let me show you our peace." The images continued. Humans building homes, humans planting gardens, humans painting, sculpting, writing. A hospital where doctors saved lives, a school where children learned, a park where families played. "This is human art," Park said, and the display showed paintings and sculptures from across human history. "We create beauty. We express joy and sorrow. We tell stories about hope." Music began to play through the chamber's speakers. A symphony, rising and falling with emotion. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward, listening. "This is human music," Park said. We make sounds that touch the heart. Every culture on Earth has music. It is how we share feelings words cannot express. The music faded and new images appeared. Memorials, statues, buildings dedicated to remembrance. These are our monuments to our own mistakes, Park said quietly. We built these after our wars. Places to remember the dead, to honor the victims, to promise we would never forget what violence costs. The display showed humans helping each other. During floods, fires, earthquakes, strangers pulling strangers from danger, communities rebuilding after disasters. When tragedy strikes, humans help each other, even people we do not know. Even people we might have fought with yesterday. Then the images shifted to the last 10 years. Humans meeting aliens for the first time, the wonder on human faces, the excitement. Children's drawings of alien friends, human scientists working alongside alien researchers, human doctors learning alien medicine, human teachers exchanging knowledge with alien educators. In 10 years since contact, humans have formed friendships with 47 different species, Park said. We have shared our culture and learned from yours. We have worked together, laughed together, grown together. Not once have humans threatened violence against any member species. The display went dark. Park looked up at the thousands of aliens watching him. Yesterday, you judged humanity on our capacity for violence. You are not wrong. We know how to fight. We know how to destroy. Our history proves it. He paused, letting the silence stretch. But our history also proves something else. We know how to stop. We know how to change. We know how to choose peace even when war seems easier. We looked at our own worst nature and decided to be better. Zexthor leaned forward. Captain, this is all very moving. But it does not change the facts. Humans come from a death world. You evolved through violence. Your biology makes you dangerous. Dangerous, yes, Park agreed. But not evil, not uncontrollable, not unworthy of trust. He took a step forward. High Arbiter, members of the Council, I have a question. How many species in this chamber come from death worlds? The question hung in the air. No one answered. None, Park said. I checked. Every species here evolved on gentle worlds. Mild climates, peaceful conditions. That is wonderful. It gave you time to develop philosophy, art, science, without the constant struggle for survival. But it also means something else. He looked around the chamber. It means none of you understand what it takes to climb out of darkness when darkness is all you know. None of you know what it costs to choose peace when violence is natural. None of you have had to face your own worst nature and decide to change it. A delegate with tentacles spoke up, voice angry. Are you saying we are weak? No, Park said firmly. I am saying you are fortunate. You did not need to learn the lessons we learned. But do not mistake fortune for superiority. Zexthor's voice carried a warning. Captain, you are approaching disrespect. I apologize if it sounds that way, Park said. I am trying to help you understand something important. You say humans are dangerous because we know violence, but the collective has been at peace for 3,000 years. That is extraordinary. That is beautiful. But it also means you have forgotten what real threats look like. Park gestured to the empty display. Protected status has given you 47 member species who depend on you for everything. They accepted your protection because it seemed safe, easy, smart. But what happens when a real danger comes? Something you have never faced before? Something that cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with? We are prepared for any threat, Zexthor said coldly. Are you? Park asked. When was the last time you fought a war? Dealt with a crisis? Faced something that truly tested you? The chamber was very quiet now. Park could feel the tension building like static before a storm. Captain Park, Zexthor said slowly, your 5 minutes are finished. It is time for your answer. Does humanity accept protected status? Park looked at Yuna. She was pale, but gave him a small nod. They had talked about this during the night. She knew what he was going to say. She did not agree with all of it, but she trusted him. Park turned back to face Zexthor and the thousands of representatives watching him. He stood straight, shoulders back, meeting the High Arbiter's eyes. No, he said clearly. Humanity refuses protected status. The chamber exploded into chaos. Voices erupted from every direction, shouts in dozens of languages, all translated simultaneously into a wall of sound. Some delegates stood, gesturing wildly. Others activated communication devices, probably reporting back to their governments. The chamber descended into disorder. "Impossible!" someone shouted. "They cannot refuse. Containment protocols must be activated immediately. This is an act of war!" Park stood still in the center of it all, waiting. Yuna moved closer to him, and he could see her hands shaking, but she held her head high. Zexthor raised all four of his primary limbs, and the chamber's sound system amplified his voice to overwhelming volume. "Silence!" The word echoed off the walls. Slowly, the chaos settled. Delegates returned to their seats, though the angry murmuring continued. The High Arbiter looked down at Park, and his eyes had gone from reflective to dark. "Captain Park, you understand what you have just done? You have rejected the collective's protection. This leaves us with no choice but to implement containment protocols. Your system will be blockaded. Your space infrastructure will be dismantled. Humanity will be isolated until you reconsider." "I understand those are the consequences you threatened," Park said calmly, "but I ask you to hear my full response before taking action. You gave humanity 24 hours to consider your terms. Give me 5 minutes to explain our decision." "You have already refused," a delegate called out. "What more is there to say?" But the same thin, elderly voice from before spoke again. "Let him finish. If we are to take such drastic action against a species, we should at least understand why they chose this path." Park finally located the speaker, an old alien with pale purple skin and long, delicate limbs sat in the upper rows. Her eyes were large and kind. Something about her reminded Park of his grandmother. Zexthor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. "Very well. 5 minutes, Captain. Then the Council votes on containment." Park nodded his thanks. "I said humanity refuses protected status. Let me explain why." He took a breath. "You call us dangerous because we know war. You are absolutely right." That seemed to catch them off guard. The angry murmurs faded into confused silence. "Humans know violence intimately," Park continued. "We know how to kill. We know how to destroy. We know hatred, rage, cruelty. Our history is soaked in blood. When I was young, I fought in Earth's last war. I lost my father to that war. I watched friends die. I killed people myself." The chamber was completely quiet now, listening. "I learned what war costs," Park said. "Not from books or stories, but from experience. I learned that violence leaves scars that never fully heal. I learned that hatred spreads like disease. I learned that every act of cruelty makes the next one easier." He paused. "And I learned something else. I learned that any person from any species is capable of both terrible evil and extraordinary good. The question is which one we choose." He began walking slowly across the platform. "Earth's unification war ended 20 years ago. Do you know how it ended? Not with a final battle. Not with one side crushing the other. It ended because a soldier named Han Jisoo walked into enemy lines unarmed and asked them to talk." Park stopped walking. "She died for it, killed by people who wanted the fighting to continue. But her sacrifice started peace talks that spread across the world. The war ended because people on both sides chose to stop. We were exhausted, yes. We were afraid, yes. But we could have kept fighting. Instead, we chose peace." Zexthor shifted on his throne. A moving story, Captain, but it proves our point. You needed terrible war to learn basic civilization. Yes, Park agreed. We did. And that is exactly why you need us to stay free. Confusion rippled through the chamber again. Park turned to face the High Arbiter directly. The collective has been at peace for 3,000 years. That is remarkable. That is something to be proud of. But you achieved it through protected status. By making species dependent on you. By removing their ability to threaten you or each other. You created peace through control. We created peace through wisdom, Zexthor countered. Perhaps, Park said. But what happens when that peace is tested by something truly dangerous? Something that cannot be controlled? Something that cannot be negotiated with? He spread his hands. You have 47 species under your protection. How many of them remember how to face real danger? How many could defend themselves if your protection failed? Our protection will not fail, Zexthor said, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. You cannot promise that, Park said softly. The universe is vast, full of unknowns. You have built a garden and filled it with delicate flowers. That is beautiful. But what happens when the frost comes? The elderly alien with purple skin spoke up. What are you suggesting, Captain? Park turned to face her. I am suggesting that humanity can offer something the collective needs. Not weapons, not violence, but memory. We remember what darkness looks like. We remember how to face it. We remember that survival sometimes requires hard choices. You want us to keep you around as guard dogs? Another delegate asked mockingly. No, Park said firmly. We want to be partners, allies, friends, but not children, not pets, not prisoners. He looked around the chamber. Every species here accepted protected status. Why? Because you were afraid. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of the collective. Afraid of making mistakes. There is wisdom in caution, Zexthor said. There is, Park agreed. But there is also strength in courage, in choosing to stand even when standing is hard. In trusting yourself even when others doubt you. He took a step forward. You judge humanity by our worst moments. You see our capacity for violence and assume we cannot be trusted. But you ignore our capacity for growth, for change, for choosing to be better than our nature demands. Park's voice grew stronger. We come from a death world, yes. We evolved through struggle. We know violence, but we also know how to survive. We know how to adapt. We know how to face fear and keep moving forward. And most importantly, we know how to remember our mistakes so we never repeat them. He turned back to Zexthor. You offered protected status to keep us safe, from others and from ourselves. But safety is not the same as life. You would give us comfortable cages and call it freedom. You would make our decisions for us and call it protection. You would treat us as children forever and call it guidance. We offer survival, Zexthor said. You offer existence, Park corrected. But humanity wants more than just to exist. We want to grow, to learn, to make our own choices and face the consequences. To earn our place in the galaxy through actions, not just acceptance of your terms. Park stood tall, meeting the High Arbiter's gaze without flinching. You said we have a choice. Accept protected status or face containment. But that is not really a choice, is it? That is a threat. Do as we say or be punished. He paused. If the collective truly believes in peace, if you truly believe in justice, then you would not force submission through fear. You are small, Zexthor said, weak. We could destroy humanity with ease. You could, Park agreed. You have 10,000 warships. We have 50. You could blockade our system, dismantle our stations, force us to comply. He took a breath. But if you do, what does that make you? You claim to be protectors, peacekeepers, civilized. But how civilized is it to use overwhelming force against those who refuse to kneel? The silence in the chamber was absolute now. We are not conquerors, Park continued quietly. And I believe you are not either. I believe the collective truly wants peace, but peace built on threats is not real peace. It is just delayed violence. He spread his hands. We offer you true partnership, alliance between equals. We will share our knowledge, our perspective, our memory of struggle. We will work with you, learn from you, grow alongside you, but we will do it as free people, not as subjects. Park's voice rang out clear and strong. Humanity chooses to stand as equals or not at all. We choose freedom over safety. We choose courage over comfort. We choose to be judged by our actions moving forward, not just our history. He paused one final beat. We choose to earn your respect rather than accept your control. The chamber remained absolutely silent. Every eye was on Park. He stood straight, waiting for the response he knew might doom his entire species. The silence stretched. Park could hear his own heartbeat. Beside him, Yuna had stopped breathing. The thousands of delegates in the chamber sat motionless, as if time itself had frozen. Then the elderly purple-skinned alien stood slowly. Her movement broke the spell, and everyone turned to look at her. She was small, Park realized. Smaller than most species here. But when she spoke, her voice carried weight. My name is Elder Mira of the Valorn, she said. I am 312 years old. I was part of my species' delegation when we joined the collective 2,800 years ago. She looked down at Park with those large, kind eyes. Captain Park, you said something that interested me. You said every species accepted protected status because we were afraid. You are correct. A murmur ran through the chamber. Zexthor's mandibles clicked. Elder Mira, with respect, this is not the time. It is exactly the time, Mira interrupted gently. I am old enough to speak truth without fear of consequences. She looked around the chamber. When the Valorn were first contacted by the collective, we were terrified. We had just developed space travel. We were exploring our own system. Then massive ships appeared, and we thought we would be conquered. She descended the steps slowly, moving toward the platform where Park stood. The collective offered us protection, safety, knowledge. All we had to do was accept their guidance. And we did, immediately, gratefully. She reached the platform and stood next to Park. But I remember something the others seemed to have forgotten. We accepted because we saw no other choice. It was not wisdom, it was fear. Elder Mira, Zexthor said, his voice carrying warning. Are you saying the collective used fear to recruit members? I am saying we offered a choice between protection and isolation, Mira said. Just as you offered humanity today. It is not the same as conquest, but it is also not true freedom. She turned to Park. Young human, you asked why no species ever refused. I will tell you. We never refused because we could not imagine any alternative. Protection or destruction seemed like the only options. And what do you suggest instead? Another delegate called out. Let humanity do whatever they want, risk their violence spreading? I suggest, Mira said calmly, that we remember what the collective was meant to be. Not controllers, not conquerors, but partners, friends, teachers. She looked up at Zexthor. High Arbiter, I ask you to consider something. In 3,000 years of peace, have we become so comfortable that we have forgotten how to trust? Zexthor was silent for a long moment. Then he said, The protected status system has kept peace for millennia. It works. Does it? A new voice asked. Park looked over and saw a younger delegate with scales that shimmered green and gold. I am Representative Kell of the Sarathi. My people joined the collective only 200 years ago. I have access to our historical records. Do you know what my ancestors wrote when they accepted protected status? Kel pulled up a document on his display. They wrote, "We have no choice but to accept. We are too small to resist. We hope that future generations will forgive us for surrendering their freedom." More voices began speaking up. A delegate with multiple tentacles said, "My people wrote similar things. We accepted out of necessity, not desire." "As did mine," another added. "And mine." The chamber filled with voices. Not all of them, but enough. Species that had accepted protected status were now admitting they had done so because they saw no alternative. Zexthor raised his limbs for silence again. "Even if this is true, it does not change the present situation. Humanity is dangerous. They must be controlled or contained." "Why?" Park asked. "What have we done to threaten you? In 10 years of contact, have we attacked anyone? Threatened anyone? Broken any agreements?" "You have not," Zexthor admitted. "But your potential—" "Potential is not action," Park interrupted. "You are judging us for crimes we have not committed and may never commit. You are punishing us for possibilities, not realities." "We are protecting you from yourselves," Zexthor said. "No," Park said firmly. "You are protecting yourselves from your fear of us." That hit home. Park could see it in the way Zexthor's eyes darkened, in the way delegates shifted uncomfortably. He had struck the truth. Elder Mira spoke again. "High Arbiter, I propose an alternative. Rather than forcing humanity to accept protected status or face containment, why not offer them something different?" "What do you suggest?" Zexthor asked, and Park heard genuine curiosity in his voice now. "A mutual defense treaty," Mira said. "Humanity remains independent, but enters into alliance with the collective as equals. They maintain their sovereignty, their military, their freedom. In exchange, they agree to defend collective space if needed and share their knowledge with us." "Preposterous," a delegate said. "We do not need their defense." "Perhaps not today," Mira replied. But Captain Park raised a valid point. We have been at peace so long that we have forgotten how to think like warriors. We have protected species that depend on us, but do we truly know how to protect them from serious threats? She looked at Park. "Humans remember struggle. They remember survival. That perspective could be valuable." Zexthor leaned back on his throne, thinking. "And if humanity proves to be a threat after all? If they use their freedom to attack others?" "Then the entire collective responds," Park said. "If humanity breaks trust, you have every right to act against us. But judge us on our actions, not your fears." "We would be setting a precedent," Zexthor said slowly. "If humanity is allowed to refuse protected status, others might do the same." "Would that be so terrible?" Elder Mira asked. "A collective of free allies, rather than protected children?" The chamber erupted into debate. Not angry now, but thoughtful. Representatives arguing with each other, discussing possibilities. Park stood quietly, watching it unfold. He had said everything he could. Now, it was up to them. After nearly an hour, Zexthor called for order again. "This council must make a decision. I call for a vote, all in favor of implementing containment protocols against humanity for refusing protected status. Indicate now." Lights appeared above the seats as delegates voted. Park watched the count, his heart sinking. Nearly 40% voted yes, enough to be concerning, but not a majority. "All opposed to containment protocols?" Zexthor asked. More lights. The numbers climbed. 53% voted no. The containment protocols failed. Park felt Yuna grab his arm, but he did not dare hope yet. Zexthor looked at the results for a long time. Finally, he said, "The council has spoken. Containment protocols are denied." He looked down at Park. "But we cannot simply allow humanity complete freedom without any framework." Elder Mira's suggestion of a mutual defense treaty has merit. I propose we enter negotiations for such a treaty. Humanity would remain independent but bound by alliance to the collective. They would have the same rights and responsibilities as any member species, but without protected status. Park felt something loosen in his chest. The Earth government would need to approve any treaty, but I believe they would accept these terms. As do I, Una said beside him, her voice shaking with relief. Then let us begin, Zexthor said. But understand, Captain Park, this is unprecedented. You will be watched closely. Any sign of aggression, any threat, and the collective will respond with overwhelming force. We understand, Park said, and we accept that responsibility. The session ended with more debate, more discussion. But the immediate crisis had passed. Humanity would not be forced into protected status. They would not be contained. They would stand as free partners in the galactic community. As Park and Una left the chamber, Elder Mira caught up with them. Captain Park, a word. Park stopped and bowed respectfully. Elder Mira, thank you for your support. I did not do it for you, she said with a slight smile. I did it because you reminded me of something I had forgotten. That true strength is not avoiding fear, but facing it. That peace through control is not real peace. She placed a delicate hand on his arm. Your friend, the one who walked into enemy lines. Jisoo, you said? Yes, Park said, surprised she remembered. She would be proud of what you did today, Mira said. You walked into danger unarmed, carrying only truth, and you made peace. That takes more courage than any battle. Park felt his throat tighten. Thank you. Mira nodded and walked away slowly, leaving Park and Una alone in the corridor. We did it, Una said quietly. We actually did it. We earned the right to try, Park corrected. Now we have to prove we deserved it. They returned to their shuttle. As they left the station, Park looked back at the massive structure one last time. Somewhere in there, other species were watching what humanity had done. He wondered if any of them would follow the example, if any would ask for the same freedom humanity now had. Back in his quarters on the shuttle, Park composed a message to Earth. To President Kim Seonmi. To the people who trusted him to speak for them. He told them what happened. He told them they were free. And he reminded them of the responsibility that came with that freedom. At the end of the message, he added something personal. A note he sent separately to the memorial where Jisoo's name was carved with thousands of others who died in the Unification War. We remembered, he wrote, and we chose to be better. Thank you for teaching me that someone has to remember. Park sent the messages and looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere, humanity's violent, beautiful home. They had come so far from their beginning, from tribes fighting over territory, to a unified species reaching for the stars, from conquerors to peacemakers, from children of a death world to partners in a galaxy full of life. The journey was not over. It was just beginning. But for the first time, humanity would walk that journey as free people, not protected, not controlled, but trusted to make their own choices and face their own consequences. Park smiled. Jisoo would have approved.